Okay, I'm back again. Um, you can tell because I've changed my shirt that this is the same day as the previous two videos. And what we're looking at right now is we have our baby bot working pretty well. We've mixed it up a little bit in terms of what baby's going to do. And given her a little bit of personality. And so what I want to do now is eliminate this sense of it's a robot pretending to be a robot. I want it to be a robot pretending to be a person. So let's work on that. And what I'm trying to do, that's a good place to stop, is to avoid that whole constant motion moving around. So that when we start moving, we are moving linearly in terms of going right across and not really like starting up slowly, moving fast, and then slowing down again, which is a much more organic way for people to move around. So I want to look at this interpolate function that I created. I don't know if I needed it because we had a different problem. This fixed some of our problems, and then we had a different problem. So I think there were two problems in a row. One was with the map function that shouldn't be called map, and the idea that we had when we created this decision table, I had put the wrong things in here. So those were two mistakes. One was really mine, and the other was map is a little bit off. Okay, so I want to do something that's going to not move linear. So I'm going to replace this map with something else. Okay, now what do we want to replace it with? So we want something that starts out slowly, moves faster, and then slows down before it stops. And what I'm going to say is we should use a sine function or a cosine function, one or the other, because the way sine and cosine work is you're basically starting out in a circle. Let's use this little circle that I have here that has been made for me. And the sine, basically what we're doing is we're moving around us in a circle at a constant rate. And what we're doing with sines and cosines is we're looking at the distance from the center up and across. Not the distance from center as we go around, but the x and the y-axis. Those gives us the sine. Those are the sines and the cosines that we're getting. So some basic trigonometry there for you. So as we're moving at constant velocity around the edge, what we can see is this x-axis is the cosine. So it starts out at 1. We always, the sines and cosines are based on the idea that the radius of the circle is 1. So this will be 1. And as it's moving at a constant speed, it's mostly going up. So the cosine, this x location, starts out moving very slowly as it goes around in constant speed. When we get to the top, we are moving straight across the x. So that is the fastest point where x is moving. And then as we come back around, we get into a spot where we're moving in the x-axis very slowly again. So we move slowly, we move fast, and then we move slowly again on the x-axis, and that's what we get when we take a cosine of this, the distance around the circle. Okay. How are we going to make use of that? Well, let's start out by finding, what do we have here? I think it's this block. Let's see what we got. And there it is, cosine. So let's go up. We don't need small. Okay, so cosine of 0 distance from here, we've gone 0 distance around the circle, that's going to be 1, because it's on the x-axis. It's going to be 1. Then it's going to go to 0. Then it's going to go to -1. Okay? So we have a 0 point, we have a 1 point, we have a negative point. If we add 1 to this, we'll get from 2 to 0. And then if we divide by 2, we'll have 1 to 0. And then then it's in the opposite direction, right? It goes from 1 down to 0. So if we negate that, it'll go from -1 to 0. Let's think about that. So let's start out with, how are we going to get this number of the number of radians around this? Because cosine in terms of radians is in terms of radians. I think if we look at help, it'll tell us that. Okay. Let's find this. So how would you know that it's in radians? That's what we're saying. Trigonometry. All right. Radians. That math.pi divided by 180. So it is in radians. Okay. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to turn it into radians. So these are all in radians. Degrees are radians. The compass shows north, it's direction 0, which is degrees. Another measure is the number, size of, circle, blah, blah, blah. That's radians. And it looks like we're using radians. Okay. And if we go back to the top, it will not let us go back. That's a little bit of a bug, isn't it? But we can come here, kill that, and we're back. All right. We need radians. So we want to start our counter to be 0, to be the 0 point, 0 radians, and we want to go around the circle halfway, which is pi radians. So we need to make a ratio, create a ratio from 0 to pi. And you could use map. Map will do that. But you know what? I'm getting away. I'm tired of map. Let's just calculate it. Okay, so let's grab some math. So we want to divide by the number of degrees, and we want to also multiply by pi, which is brand new. We have pi now. All right, so let's think about this. We want a percentage of the way around. So what is our percentage of the way around? Well, the percentage of the way around, the fraction thereof, is going to be our movement counter divided by our final count. Right? So 0 divided by anything is 0. And when we get to the final count divided by final count is 1. So if we multiply that 1 by pi, and that this is brand new, giving us pi. That gives us a number now from 0 to pi, which is starting at the right side of the circle, going around to the left side of the circle. And if we take the cosine of that, what we get is this x number for going around half a circle, and it starts at 1, goes to 0, then goes to -1, and it does so in a non-linear way, which is what we wanted. Okay, so now what do we do? Well, we're going to need to know a few things. And one of the things we want to know is, what is halfway between the high and the low range of motion? So how can we get the halfway mark? Well, one way is to just take the high and the low and average them out. That's going to give us the halfway mark. So let's do that. So how do we do that? Well, we take a divide and a plus. So we're going to take the low plus the high, and we're going to divide by 2. So that gives us the halfway mark between the low and the high. The next thing we need to know is the range of motion. So how far does it actually go? What is that range of motion? Because that's going to be different. And that is going to be the difference between the start point and the end point. So let's grab our math. Let's grab a minus sign. So if we assume that low is the smaller number, we want to subtract the smaller number from the higher number to get that range of motion so that it's a positive number. If that's reversed, everything will be negated, and we're still okay. We're still good. Okay, so we need to return. What do we want to do? So this expression right here gives us a number from 1 down to 0 down to -1. So when we start out at 1, we want that to be the range of motion. So we're going to take the halfway mark, we're going to subtract half of the range of motion from it, and that should give us the low. Yeah? Right? Okay. So let's start that math. And I'm going to get a plus, which may not be the right thing, but I want the halfway. So I'm modifying the halfway mark with this. And this is going to give us a +1 and a -1. So in order for that to be the range of motion, I want it to multiply it by the range of motion. Oh, I hate when I do that. times the range of motion. But if it's the full range of motion, that's not going to help as much as it could if it were divided by 2. Half the range of motion. All right, let's take that range of motion. Divide by 2. Okay, so what do we have? What we have here is when the cosine, when we are halfway through, remember on the circle, when we're halfway through around, we're going to get a 0 for the cosine. So we are actually going to have nothing to add to halfway, so it'll be halfway. If we are at the beginning, the 0, we're going to have 1 times the range of motion divided by 2, and going to halfway and subtracting half the range of motion is going to give us that starting point. So we have to change the sign on it. That's why it's a negative. So as we get near the end, so we're starting at 0, we're going around, we get all the way around here at pi, we're getting a -1 from this expression, right here, this middle of it. We're multiplying that by the range of motion divided by 2, and when we multiply that by a -1, and then we subtract that, negatives cancel, we add half the range of motion to the halfway mark, and that gets us all the way to the high point. Kind of, sort of. It'll get us close. Just like we had with the map, it got us close, but not exact. Goodbye, map. That's why we still have these. If we're at the 0 mark, we're going to return the low. If we're at the final count or greater, we will return a high, and we're going to save this calculation for all the numbers in between there, because we're not depending on those to be exactly equal to this one or that one. Okay, and I'm going to change the name to non-linear. Okay, so interpolate non-linear. So we say proportionately. This is actually not proportionate anymore. This is smooth servos non-linear too. Okay, so we made all those things non-linear motion. Let's try it out. How terrible could it possibly be? How wrong could we have gotten this? Well, if you're me, really wrong. All right. Let's see what this does. All right, what are you going to do? Oh, lots of blinking. Lots of blinking. And I think it looks better. Do you see that? It's not moving. He's not moving his eyes or her eyes in that robotic sort of fashion. Turn your head back. I know you can do it. Turn it. Turn. I'm going to reset. Oh, there you go. Yeah, did you see that? I like the way that head is turning now. It just looks more natural to me. It's not a big difference. I mean, It's not a huge difference. It really isn't. But it's enough that it looks so much more natural. So that's a good thing. I like that. Now we need to add some more actions to it. So I am going to end this here because you have seen too much math in one video. That's way too much math in one video. Okay. So let's end here. Thank you for watching. And in the next video, we'll add some more actions, I think. I think that'll be good.